What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Thursday. Time for another installment of Taking It Back. I'm with Frankie Val of the Quite Frankly Show. Frank, thanks for the cookie, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, you got it, man. I I think that's the first I've ever sent anybody.
Oh man. Well, I
I
feel
just yeah,
extremely honored.
you're welcome. I had a little pill. I said I have the Badlands chat and the pill.net chat up. I said, you know what? Let me send Adel some cookies because the last time I think I ever sent you anything was on D Live. I think I sent you a few lemons.
You sent me the rocket ship, which is the equivalent of like $120 worth of lemons. And I remember that.
If I had known that, I wouldn't have sent that to you.
No, I sent you a text afterwards, like, dude, you didn't have to do that. I think your response was, dude, they might as well be rainbow farts as far as I'm concerned. I have no idea what I
I
just
don't know. I still don't understand this conversion chart. Just take it, enjoy.
did.
But
It's so funny. How's your day going so far, bud?
it's all right. It's all right. I've had a a pretty decent week as far as just trying to chase down some phantom health issues I'm having with my throat. But and I've located it on my throat now. Before I checked out my chest and everything is fine. There's nothing in there. Because ever since the flu, I had this tickle that doesn't go away. And the last in this on this past weekend, man, I was hacking. I wish I hacked up a lung because at least something would move. It is this immovable, dry cough that produces nothing. And I've got this, I don't know. So I'm going to the ENT tomorrow morning at 8:45, and hopefully they can tell me if it's a post nasal drip or something terminal, and then we'll go from there.
Quite a range of outcomes there. Well, I hope it's closer to the former than the latter.
Right, me too. So
uh,
how you doing?
I can't complain, man. I got to play 18 holes this morning, a beautiful morning here in Pittsburgh, so life is good. I'm always in a good mood when I get to golf.
Man, until this gets fixed with me, I have no desire to move at all. I've been just so in my head about it, because especially since it's not like I have a sore left elbow, is
Yeah.
I have a little bit of tennis elbow in my throwing arm or something like that. It's like this is how I pay the bills. Obviously, it hasn't affected my throat, but I don't want to be coughing for years on end. That's going to eventually damage something. So I'm thinking about that. How's Zach doing? How is it that anybody in Florida can catch a cold with all that sun they get?
I don't know. I don't know. He mentioned last week that he was at Universal Studios and he was worried about people shedding on him, and he said that he was starting to feel like he was coming down with something then. So I don't know if that's a continuation of what he was dealing with last week, or if this is something new that popped up. But yeah, those of you looking for Zach Payne, he unfortunately isn't going to be joining us today. He's not feeling well, under the weather. So.
He's getting
Um,
a high colonic. Getting a high colonic. He might join us around 10 to 5 after he comes to.
Well, speaking of golf, I got some great news here. I'm so
Okay.
excited about this. I had no idea this was even a possibility. But Happy Gilmore is back. Adam Sandler is reprising the role in a brand new movie coming to Netflix.
Get
I don't,
out.
yeah, I don't know about you, but this was always my favorite Adam Sandler movie. One of my
It's
favorite
the
movies of all
peak.
time.
It's the peak.
Yeah,
He hit his peak with, I mean, at least back then. He's
yeah.
done some really decent things. He's done some things that made you like sit back and think. Uh,
Hmm.
but as far as his comedies go, the classic comedies, oh man, that was the peak. Big Daddy was decent. Wedding Singer was also awesome.
That one
Uh,
was so underrated, I thought.
hugely underrated.
I thought that was one of his best movies, and really, really underrated was Wedding Singer.
Yeah, Billy Madison is one that there's certain things that still are you'll get a chuckle out of me, but Happy Gilmore is just that sweet spot. And my friends and I, that's one of those movies that you'll always hear us. Well, we're always telling each other, "I'll be at the Red Lobster if you change your mind." Whatever.
Yeah,
Even though
it's
Red Lobster, what's going on, man? They're going bank. They shut down like 50 more restaurants, and then I heard that there was bankruptcy was being filed.
I heard that too, that's crazy. I mean, I've never eaten at a Red Lobster my entire life, so I'll be honest, I don't even know if it's even worth it, but,
Probably not.
probably not. Yeah, even, so my buddy bought a divot fixer that it's shaped like Chubb's, and it's got a ball marker. It's
Oh,
it's like his hand, right? Like the little wooden hand that's all chewed up from the alligator. So when you go to mark your ball on the green, you put his little wooden hand down. It's yeah.
cut me down in my prime. He got me, but I tore one of them bastards' eyes out.
But what other movies from that era do you find yourself still, like, quoting from and, like,
Um,
you see it on TV and you just have to watch it?
from specifically from like the early to mid 90s.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, man. I mean, Starship Troopers.
Okay.
Let me see. What else from that group? I mean, Tommy Boy.
Yes.
Uh, Tommy Boy is where Chris Farley peaked.
Yeah.
Black Sheep was all right.
Yeah.
But what else? I don't know. Say some stuff. You'll get me thinking.
I don't know, when I was, like, 10, 11 years old, for whatever reason, Night at the Roxbury was one of my favorites with, Chris Kattan and Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Tommy Boy obviously was a big one too. I always loved The Sandlot too, growing up for whatever reason. The Sandlot was a movie I probably watched 2 billion times as a kid,
Yep.
and even once as an adult too, brings back.
That's third grade for me, The Sandlot, and it's still very, very special, very meaningful, and yeah, I'm blanking on a lot, but there's quite a bit out there, quite a bit. Happy Gilmore is one of those. I mean, that's just that's crazy. It's coming out. When's the release date?
Let me see if it says, no, there's no article here. It just says it's coming to Netflix. I don't know, if there's any release date announced yet. I'd have to look into it. I literally Frank, I saw this about 30 seconds before you popped into the Zoom room, and I was like, I'm gonna hold on to that to get a reaction, when we start the show because I had a feeling you'd be excited about it too.
I am excited. That's music to my ears. I got to text a couple of friends and see what they think if they've heard about it. But yeah, other than that, Other than that, there's I don't know, all the yeah, somebody in the chat room on Pill just said, "I like all the baseball movies." Yes. I was watching the other day for the first time in a long time. I had to go seek it out, and it's very hard to find, so I'm gonna have to buy the Blu-ray and just keep it. But, whatchamacall, the, Angels in the Outfield
Oh, the one with,
with Danny Glover.
yeah, yeah, that's another one I
Angels in the
watched.
Outfield,
Really.
that's some dude, that goes hard, man. Angels in the Outfield goes hard and in a great way. First of all, it has almost in modern day, it would be an ensemble cast. But there's a lot of people who are just getting started, like Adrian Brody.
Mhm.
He's like a young kid. What's his name? What's his name?
It's of Gordon-Levitt or whatever, wasn't that the
Yeah. There's Tony Danza, but then there's the other one too. Uh,
Matthew McConaughey in there?
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah,
Matthew McConaughey. And oh, dude, when you find out at the end that Tony Danza's dying, when Christopher Lloyd, the chief angel, comes down, says, "We're just checking up on Mel.
yeah,
He's coming up soon." We're like, "What do you mean he's coming up?" Like he's just been a smoker for years. I it was probably in Angels in the Outfield. I said, "I'm never smoking cigarettes in my life."
yeah.
Uh, just because of Mel Clark. Yeah.
That's a good one. I didn't even think about that one. And I've watched that movie probably 1,000 times as a kid.
Rookie of the Year. That was like 1990, 1991-ish around there. Of course, you have the John Candy,
Mhm.
the field, maybe 92. I don't know. John Candy makes that, just like John Candy really puts the cherry on top with Home Alone. The other thing there too is we had Little Big League.
Remember that one? Yeah,
Little Big League is another awesome one.
yeah.
I can probably quote that movie too.
That
But
that one didn't hit as hard for me. I remember watching that one, but that wasn't one that I kept going back to as a kid, you know? Mighty Ducks were big in my house. My little brother absolutely loved the Mighty Ducks, so I
Mighty, it was more so D2. I've
Yeah,
watched
yeah,
Mighty Ducks, the first one, plenty of times, but D2, when they get together and they are the USA team out there, the Junior Olympics or whatever the hell it is, and they go out there, that was so peak for a kid Americana.
yeah,
It was just USA. And there you go again. You have this team that is made up of everything that a modern liberal would consider diverse.
yeah,
You have the girl goalie from Bangor, Maine. You have everybody's in there doing their thing, and it just feels good, And they're
yeah,
just USA chants. Of course, they all starts quacking at the end, but man, those are good. Those are
yeah,
good.
for sure. All right, let's take care of a couple of sponsors and we'll get a bit more focused here. All right, first one is Goldco. Are you concerned about the $6 trillion at stake in the upcoming 2024 election? The Wall Street Journal has reported a critical issue, the looming decision on extending tax cuts scheduled to expire after 2025. Republicans advocate for extending Trump's tax cuts, while the Democrats lean towards letting them expire and increasing taxes on top earners and corporations, potentially creating a massive $6 trillion gap. But fear not, there's a way to protect yourself from this impending threat. Join the thousands of hardworking Americans who are taking proactive steps to safeguard their savings. Visit badlandsgold.com to claim your free 2024 gold and silver kit and fortify everything you've worked for. You may even qualify for up to 10% back in bonus silver, but hurry, supplies are limited. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Act now to diversify and shield your savings against the uncertainties ahead. Get your free 2024 gold and silver kit today at badlandsgold.com and take control of your financial destiny. And then we have a new sponsor to the show next, which is Loaded Gun Coffee. Wake up to the bold flavors of Loaded Gun Coffee, where passion, precision, and patriotism infuse every sip. As a veteran-owned business, we ensure each cup is steeped in pride and unwavering commitment. Our roasters handpick the finest coffee beans from around the world and have mastered unique brewing methods. Our skilled farmers cultivate the coffee to embody the essence of duty and honor in every meticulously crafted blend. But it's more than just coffee, it's a family's enduring commitment to freedom, with military veterans tracing their legacy back to the Civil War, including Purple Heart recipients. Loaded Gun Coffee is a brewed testament of pride and honor. Dedicated to preserving the integrity and strength of our beloved nation, we proudly stand as fierce advocates for a secure border and a strong America, and we stay loaded. Stay loaded, Badlanders, with Loaded Gun Coffee. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/loaded and enter promo code Badlands for 10% off your purchase. That is badlandsmedia.tv/loaded, promo code Badlands. And as always, a huge thank you to our sponsors and to Badlands Media for syndicating our broadcast today. Please hit that thumbs up button, those of you watching on Badlands Media's Rumble channel, and make sure you share the link out there as well. All right, so those are the sponsors. I want to start with this today, Frank. And it's a trend we've talked about on this show before, and something we continue to see. Majority of likely black voters in House battleground districts view Democrats as more extreme than GOP, according to a survey. So this is from Signal Battleground survey. It says 55% of black likely voters in 39 key House congressional districts view the Democratic Party as more extreme than the Republican Party. 37% of the black likely voters questioned in the May 6th through 8th survey by the Washington-based survey research firm said the Republican Party is the more extreme. So 55 to 37% is pretty interesting there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I mean, at least you know that there's some sort of an unbiased. I mean, that's a pretty just. It's true. It's either you believe it's either you like the extremism. I don't know how you can say that it's not extreme. I mean, they called themselves revolutionaries. What is a revolution? It's an act of extremism.
yeah,
You're going from one extreme to another. I mean, you're not. It's not a group of people who are advocating a slight tweak to the system. So the real question is what? I mean, with the founding generations extremists? Yeah. But like all things, there is a you have to, analyze to what extreme you're going. If we go from an extreme evil to an extreme righteousness, that is an act of extremism. So but on the other end, you know, yeah,
What
obviously it's opposites.
what do you think it is that's breaking, like, the spell that's been over the Black community for so long? Because I mean, they were at one point, like, 95, 90%, voting Democrat. It was a block that they could really count on. Joe Biden, I think, is polling in the 60s. Donald Trump is up in the mid-20s with Black voters right now. Both are historic and either being low or high, depending on which one you're looking at. Is there a particular issue you think that's really driving a driving force behind this, or is it a combination of things?
It's probably just a combination of things. I don't know. There might be somebody out there who's reading into this a little bit deeper, and they can actually create a top five. But if I'm, what you really have to do is just think about what you see in the world. Everybody's living in the same thing, but obviously, perspective is a little bit different. The open borders thing, they're trying to find a way to spin it positively, or like Joe Biden and whoever the hell standing behind him are proactive on keeping the border secure and managed properly and all that stuff. But it's going to be poor people, black, white, brown, whatever the hell it is. But we know that poverty per capita is a lot more. It has made a lot more impacts and has expressed itself in black communities. So these are the places that a lot of the majority of these huge influxes of foreigners that are looking for handouts and support. They aren't coming here, with prospects. They aren't coming here even being able to speak the damn language. I mean, they're going and they're being put into schools across the street from schools. They're being put into homeless shelters. American homeless are on the street. If you go back 20, 25 years, most black people were voting Democrat because they stood by actually reasonable policies like strict border control, closing the borders down. Because people in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s who represented black constituents in poor areas of the country, they knew who their competition was if the border was open. They knew who their main competition was for any kind of work to build up skills and a resume and moving on up. They knew who was going to get undercut if you're bringing in people from El Salvador or anywhere else who will work for a song
Mhm.
instead of anything else. So that was always a major part of especially the Black Caucus. But that's all gone because, of course, now everybody has been coerced and groomed into thinking internationally, and that means undercutting anything that could be considered American interest, including Black American interest, white American. All that's gone. In fact, I think the stance that most people take is in whether you're just going to outright deny that something is going on at the border at all. That's worthy of concern. But it doesn't matter what the hell the media and the political class do. People who are doing all the living and dying in this country right now, they see who moved in next door. They understand what the hell's going on. So that has to be a major part in it because that always has been a huge tenant in for those who are representing Black American interests in this country. It's keeping illegal immigration down so that work prospects can remain, even keel for people who are trying to dig themselves out in and get themselves into independence. So
No,
maybe.
no, absolutely. I think the border issue is really driving a lot of it. That, and then watching the Biden administration weaponize the DOJ. Um, I think it's also, as a population that also has felt, like they've been mistreated by law enforcement and the system. I think watching the Biden administration do what they're doing to Donald Trump and to their political enemies, I feel like they probably feel some kind of mutual understanding of what it feels like to be on the other end of that, and there's a level of um, empathy or sympathy or something to relate to there that might not have been there before. You know,
Yeah,
targeted
yeah.
by law enforcement.
And again, if you're making a top 5,
Yeah.
I can see that being, up there, as far as what does the justice system mean to you? It's crazy because on one level, and this really is only going to apply to black constituents who care enough about what's going on to even be surveyed. Because those are the people who in violent black communities are calling the cops. Those are the people who are picking up the phone and calling the cops because they don't care who's committing crimes. They want crimes to be put down. They don't want to see criminals put back on the street to fuel some sort of a narrative or to deny that any other kind of domestic policies aren't working in that respect either. That's the whole thing. So when they see, Donald, when they assess Donald Trump's situation legally in any kind of responsible way, then it should be easy for most of them to say this guy's getting shafted. Just like, and that same group of people who are trying to create any way they can to put this guy in jail, and they fail at every turn so far. They're also the types that on more localized levels, they're making sure that it's impossible for certain real criminals to go to jail,
Mhm.
especially because they're trying to combat some kind of mostly race narratives, social justice narratives. They bring in these Soros DAs and all that stuff to make sure that the common thugs are exonerated just because of their skin color. And meanwhile, anybody, black, white, brown, or whatever, that just wants to live in safe communities, they're the ones that get the shaft because
Yeah.
because of so there's a lot of that going on here. People know that there is a general degradation in what's going on all around, and not to mention the fact that when you talk about people who are often referred to as a dependent, a largely dependent popular what you call, uh, you know, uh, a, a, a largely dependent slice of the population. They're always talking about giving Black Americans a helping hand, and coming back around to the way the place that they need this because they have nothing, they have no prospects, no nothing, even though all their policies continue to kill prospects, and they want them to be held down and kept on means tested programs and welfare and all that stuff. And when you're on means tested programs, when you're included in all of that, and you have your families has been impacted by it one way or another, bad education, this and that, and especially fixed income. Well, inflation for somebody on a fixed income must be the easiest thing to to spot, because of course that gets passed down through rising prices and everything that you're buying at the grocery store. If you're already on a fixed income and you're struggling, you're going to be one of the first people to realize that a bag of rice went up $2. So,
Right.
I mean, there's got to be a whole bunch of considerations that just becomes common sense, gut feeling issues for people, that they don't even need to be political sleuths to say I'm not feeling represented, and I think the whole Democrat approach is bullshit at this point.
I think you're right. I think there's a major awakening happening to it, and you get the attitude a lot from the top of the Democrat food chain. This, just to use the famous quote from 2020. If you don't know if you're voting, for me or Donald Trump, you ain't black, right? Like there's this sense of entitlement to the vote, to that population's support, that you see it in the mainstream media, you see it in the way these politicians talk in hearings and whatnot. Like they are the voice, they are the head of the black community. They speak for
Yeah,
the black, they represent it. But really all they're doing is using the black community as the face and scapegoat of their entire scam of America. And I think that they're waking up to that fact, and they're tired of being used in that way.
I would also be tired, have been very very tired, exhausted even, of being used as the main way of selling abortion to people just because white women want to have their backup contraception plan uh you know kept in place. How many times have you heard, airheaded celebrities like Emily Ratajkowski or something go out there and say something as obscene as this? abortion is what black women of color need to be able to not only just be able to stop, yeah, they're not ready, all that nonsense, but they actually say this is, for many women of color out there, the only tool that they have in fighting, in breaking the, what do they call it, the school to prison, uh what do they call it? The funnel? I don't know. They actually
Know what
say,
you're referring to, yeah.
dude, I mean, you can go find. I remember Emily Ratajkowski being one of the more A-list type of voices that came out and say something like that, like saying that if we don't allow women of color to kill their children, then how are we ever going to stop police from putting black children in prison? As if there's just black men in prison because they didn't commit some kind of a crime. That is horrible in itself. And then to say that the only way to stop this, to save these people from a prison term, there's no choices to be made along the way. There's no way to raise a person. The fact that somebody came up poor, that means that they're gonna be brought up immoral, without dignity. I mean, there's a great time. I understand that poverty drives people to do all types of things. There's a
Mhm.
whole bunch of ethical dilemmas and conversations and debates to be had. The classic stuff. Your family is starving. Is it at that point ethical to try to steal a loaf of bread? You know,
Yeah.
but to say along the way that poverty equals no dignity, no morality, no religious faith, no family cohesion, that just lack of money doesn't mean wealth in other parts in your life. The fact that people are just completely have been given up on, and now they're being used as sales pitches for killing babies to save them from what? A predestined end in life that hasn't even begun. They talk like this all the time. They talk like this all the time. I don't know how there hasn't been a massive exodus, but I guess a trickle is better than nothing.
It's a trickle, but the trickle, I think it's exponentially kind of increasing in the volume of people that are waking up to this. But you're right, it is crazy, how well they've kept that community under the thumb and falling for this. And I think it speaks to the propaganda, how effective that's been, and how they're able to create that victimhood mentality, get get that population to view everything through the lens of racism and hatred and fear. It gets them thinking, I think, very illogically, and allows them to be put in that place mentally where they are a victim, and there is a system holding me down. There's no point in trying. I might as well accept the freebies that come and accept this lot in life, rather than looking to create something more for themselves, and removing those things from their lives.
Yeah.
Uh, so there's more in this poll as well. A few other key takeaways. This is like a big survey. I was kind of looking at the PowerPoint a little bit. It's pretty interesting. But here's some big takeaways. Trump's job approval, 48% now overshadows Biden's approval at 37%. That's more than 10% among key voter groups like college educated women, married women, and Black voters. Trump approval has also jumped 5%. And college voters and college educated women have been a huge sticking point as far as uh, typically voting left, but you're seeing a movement there. The college students in general, I feel like is really interesting, Frank. I think we're getting to a point where you had a period where, when Donald Trump was elected or running, he was seen as the man, the authority, and it was cool to resist and be anti-authority. I think that the shoe's on the other foot now, where I think younger people are starting to see, like, every major institution, every major corporation, the entire system is anti-conservative, and as young kids typically do, they rebel against authority. It's cool to be anti or counterculture. I I've heard this saying before, years in the past that conservatism is a new counterculture. I think that's becoming more and more true right now. Like as we head into 2024, I think the rebellious thing is to vote for the Donald Trump or to vote Republican to get away from the stuff that every adult quote unquote in their life is telling them. Oh, can't hear you, Frank. I don't know what happened there, but there's no
It might
volume.
be worthy of a really good conversation. And I might even take note of and throw it out there on my show too. But at which point, because when you think about liberalism versus conservatism in the most mainstream ways that you can describe both of them,
Mhm.
um, when you get into the weeds on so-called conservatism, you're talking about it's counterculture because, of course, we're talking about what is the dominant culture right now. So yeah, it would be counter to that. But when you go deeper and you see that conservatism is actually just in line with nature, where where there is stability in a the nuclear family. There's stability in a mother and a father at home. There is stability in just understanding that there is only two sexes, there things like that. And then of course there is conservatism of just when you talk about people are like, oh, well, conservative, it's like you're buttoning you're just tying your ties so tight and you're a stiff or something like that. It really just goes back to this whole idea of you want to be able to conserve your own responsibilities. You want to be able to conserve all of the power and authority over most things in your life and not delegate them out to a central power, you know, which essentially becomes mommy. So when you think about something like that, then you go into economics and you talk about things like supply and demand that never go away. They can never be changed. There's nothing to deny them. That there is a balance between the two. That rupturing that atmosphere, an economic atmosphere like that, always ends in disaster and the need for more intervention to be able to take care of the damage that the prior intervention created. So I always see that conservatism puts you more in line with nature, where people are out there um pretty much representing their own interests, work voluntarism, all that stuff. And you can be who you want along the way. It doesn't fucking matter. But my whole thing is how does that become over time? How does that become over time made to seem square? Where if everything is stable, everybody's happy and there's actually good, is it really just about the rabble rousing? Is it really just about psychological operations, telling people that is it just really all about telling people that you're not doing well enough because someone else did better? We gotta talk about that a little bit more at some point, because you'd think that nothing would be able to nothing would be able to pull people away from a stable nature. But we do. Well, time and time again, we always get pulled away and gone down these socialistic rabbit holes chasing utopia, and along the way we destroy Eden.
Yeah, that's a great topic of discussion right there. Like, what is it that they tap into? Like, what piece of our humanity, if that's the right word, our psyche, are they tapping into to get us to reject the very things that make us prosperous, happy, and safe? Because that's essentially what they do is they're tapping into some kind of darkness within society and convincing people that they need to resonate with that, or if they're not allowed to resonate with that, they're being oppressed in some way, and that they need to rebel and break all of these social norms, for the sake of proving that you can almost,
I
if
guess
nothing
it's
else.
the seven deadly sins is a good guide.
Yeah.
I think that's a definitely good guide if you want to talk about what is tapped into, what pulls us off course. I mean, greed and lust and envy and I mean, there's just a sloth. I
Yeah.
mean, to talk about slothfulness, not wanting, wanting. I think greed and sloth really time together. I mean, you can be somebody who is motivated by greed and doesn't stop working. You have sacrificed every wholesome moment you could have had with your family and friends just to be at work to make an extra dollar, and to try to destroy your competition. But what we're living with right now is greed by way that's being I mean, what's being demanded and by whom? The laziest group of entitled twits you could ever have imagined for a comic book. So it's just like slothfulness and greed together. I think that's really what it is. Just tapping into the seven deadly sins.
Yeah, I think that that makes a lot of sense. Um, let's go back to this. Let's see what else there is here. Over 80% of voters oppose the pro-Hamas protests occurring on college campuses across the country. Only 3%, mostly comprised of young liberal Democrats, support the protests calling for the death of Jews. 82% support police clearing them out. And we talked about this a bit a couple weeks ago, these protests and the effect they're having. So it's turning voters off, or at least turning these surveyed voters off of the left a little bit. And I've been saying this is going to be a huge problem for the Democrats in 2024 if they don't get a handle on this. They have huge voter bases in a couple battleground states that are largely Arab, and you could tell they're trying to walk this tightrope there, and it's not going well. It's not going well at all.
Hmm.
The Biden campaign's attack on RFK Jr. appear to be having their intended impact. 3% of voters have shifted away from RFK Jr. and now say they will definitely support Biden, but the full head-to-head presidential ballot matchup still has Trump leading Biden by 2%, Trump 47 to Biden 45. I want to get back to RFK here in a minute, because he's pissed off not being invited to the debates that were just agreed to.
As he should be, because I hate this idea. I always have hated the idea that there's just going to be a Republican and a Democrat on the stage once all their parties get their nominations sorted out. That's ridiculous.
I agree. I agree.
It's ridiculous. There should be at least two more spots up there. Whoever the hell. I'm not saying it's one is for the Libertarian Party, one is for the Green Party, one is for the Reform Party, whatever the hell it is. There should just be a couple more spots at least, or because it's such a sham otherwise. Yes, it
I
is.
agree. Here's what he said. Presidents Trump and Biden are colluding to lock America into a head-to-head matchup that 70% say they do not want. They are trying to exclude me from the debate because they're afraid I would win. Keeping viable candidates off the debate stage undermines democracy. 43% of Americans identify as independents. If America is ever going to escape the hammerlock of the two-party system, now's the time to do it. These are the two most unpopular candidates in living memory. By excluding me from the stage, President Biden and Trump seek to avoid discussion of their 8 years of mutual failure, including deficits, wars, lockdowns, chronic disease, and inflation. So I mean, he does make some valid points. I do think that he is being unfairly excluded, regardless of whether you want to see him up there or not. I do think he deserves a spot on the stage. I think he's got enough. He's done enough to earn that. And I think it would make for a more interesting debate. As far as the 8 years of mutual failure, I think you could definitely look at some of these things in either direction. Obviously, deficits. Both Trump and Biden saw massive increases to the deficit under their watch. I would say wars, you'd have to put more on Biden. Donald Trump did a pretty good job to avoid new conflicts and even calm things down in certain parts of the world when he had the chance. Lockdowns, I think again that's a bit unfair. At least from Trump's perspective, he kind of let the governors do as they please with each state the way he should. Chronic disease and inflation. I think obviously inflation you'd have to put more at the feet of Joe Biden, but his overall argument that he should be included in
Yeah,
the discussion, I think, is spot on.
I think
Absolutely.
he'd probably cause more of a problem than people think because
Yeah.
obviously his voice hinders him
Hmm.
physically, but his mind is very sharp. I've seen him in debates in debates where I know personally I would not have done as well. I would not have kept my cool. I probably would have stuttered and whatever. But his recall and his calm, especially talking about things like pharma. But then again, this guy is basing everything on pharma. He's
Yeah.
really, really great on pharma. He's really terrible everything else. I know that he's kind of walked back and tried to put a more hopeful spin on what has changed with him as far as gun control goes.
Mhm.
But he has gone to Governor Northam levels of endorsing abortion, and I mean, it's just listen, it would be interesting, and he definitely would cut into somebody's lead big time. He would. But it's if pharma is your only issue, then I guess that's your guy. But there's yeah, as bad as a problem that pharma is, it's just like I don't know. It's
I I agree. There's a lot more. It's a weird one to be a single issue voter on is just pharma. I would love to see him be put in charge, like just put him ahead of the FDA, CDC, NIH, DHHS, like all of those agencies that oversee pharma, big food, all those things. A real watchdog like him could be really useful. But on every other issue, I find myself disagreeing with him.
well, what was that rumor? I guess it wasn't a rumor. I guess he was being considered for something in the Trump administration at first,
Yeah, it was something along the lines of being in charge of. I can't remember the
like
exact title.
vaccine accountability or something,
Yeah, yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
That's where he would come into great use and great service for anybody. Um, I mean, everybody. Honestly, Donald Trump, everyone, they're all incomplete. They're all incomplete as candidates.
yeah,
Some way more incomplete than others that have done things that just like you scratch your head, done things and not really addressed ever again. It's not really rocket science here. If anybody who is going to vote in November, they really it's if you can vote for Donald Trump enthusiastically or holding your nose, he's the only person you can vote for if you plan to vote on that level of government. Obviously, down ballot and local, that's something that you gotta be you have to be very diligent about as well because it's where you make the most immediate impacts. But at this point, it's clear that's just all there is.
yeah. No, I agree. Um, And then we have 2 more here. Inflation and the economy regains prominence as a top issue, 26% priority for voters with the border security, 25% remaining a close second. Abortion at 7% has also increased 3% as a tertiary issue, particular among single women and Democrats since March. So you look at these like what the country really cares about. And then I'll just kind of tie this last one. Voters overwhelmingly reject at 61% the Biden administration's changes to Title IX, which requires colleges and universities to grant the same rights as biological women to biological men who identify as women. It's amazing to me, Frank. They seem to be on the wrong side of almost every issue when they're polled individually, maybe minus abortion, but that comes in as what 7% of the population's most important issue. So it's not even a top issue at this point. Yet, there's still it still feels very close. When you look at the overall polls, like you disagree with everything that they stand for. Yet,
Yeah.
like I wear this jersey. I've worn this jersey. My dad wore this jersey. The news told me to wear this jersey. All the logic or facts or the fact that they're straight up telling me that they're working against most of my interests does not matter because there's a sense of tribalism there or
Well, it's what I just said. It's just what I said before. Um, Donald Trump is an incomplete candidate, just like every candidate we have met in our lifetimes and probably a lifetime or so before us. But and whereas I know that there are quite a few OG Trump supporters just like around me over here who are just like, Frank, I don't even know if I'm voting. He just killed me with that vaccine. He killed me with Israel. He kills me with this and that. I just don't know if I'm voting. Um, it's and what I'm going to say. Oh no, you have to look at it this way. You're like, listen, your choice is your choice. We're all seeing the same thing. I understand. You know,
Yeah.
I understand that there's a lot to be said about the horrible appointments that he's made and things like that. So but at the end of the day, everybody says to themselves, "Here is all the things that really trouble me, but here are the choices and here are the stakes." And it just comes down to gut instinct if you're going to play the game at all. And that's where you get 47 to 45, even though there are huge disparities on individual topics. And then of course you can't discount just irrational emotionality of the whole thing, like where people just think about Donald Trump and they want to retch because how Stephen Colbert taught them to react to the sound of his name. Whereas I don't think that way about people because they're a Democrat or a Republican. I think about impacts of things in practical sense and not in some rainbow farts, pie in the sky utopian nonsense that's going on out there and I mean you're dealing with a lot of people that come from different emotional states that again when you get people alone and their guard is down and they don't think that they're being surveyed and they don't think that they're being probed, you'll find that the most liberal a person is actually quite conservative in their decision making because conservatism is all about self-defense, self prioritization, making sure that you live healthily from one day to the next, responsibility. Everybody needs to take responsibility for things, essential things in their life if they're going to survive day to day. But once it just whiffs of party politics and elections and a survey, then it is just they put on a different mask. Everybody, it's different programming kicks in, and it's not very logical, but that is why I think if you get people alone versus if they're in a herd, or if you get people talking about individual topics versus whole cloth, are you going to vote for this guy or this guy? It's going to be very wide in difference there. You know, I think that's where it goes from 39% difference in opinion to 2% very quickly.
Yeah, no, that's well put. Is there anything you think, Donald Trump should do differently that could help him overcome that visceral reaction like the Stephen Colbert listener gets when they see his face or hear his name? Like,
No, no,
no,
those
like,
people are gone.
yeah,
No, for those people are gone. Those people those people need to get struck by lightning in some way and have some kind of a personal revelation. They have to have some sort of a road to Damascus moment where they are struck blind by God and they all of a sudden they just realize something. Whatever the hell that is, it's not going to be because Donald Trump has wooed them. All right. They something has to happen to them. Some kind of a political near death experience that has to kind of, you know, that something has to happen to those people. You can't think about them in what you're doing. What you got to do is think about what is really going to galvanize support with people who were with you and now are not there anymore. Because yeah, there's always going to be more people getting attracted to Donald Trump because okay, he's become a lightning rod, and they're after him, and I feel oppressed too. And this guy is just going to be my sword swinging champion in there. And even if he doesn't get anything done, at least he's going to cause some problems for these fucks. I can't stand them. Go ahead, Trump. Just cause somebody an issue. I don't care where the hell it is. Even if it looks like it's an issue, at least I'll feel a little bit better about myself over the course of 4 years. There's going to be that, but for the OGs, I think they would love to see a real drawback from the world stage. That there really is going to be a whatever he can veto as far as money that is leaving the country. Whatever he can do, he is no longer going to be the lap boy for any foreign nation, at least for as long as he's in office. And he actually does that, suffers the slings and arrows of that, knowing that there is no more a re-election after this, and he can just be a real bull in the china shop. That would be awesome. That and then maybe some way that he could come to the light on the vaccines, some way where he can be, I don't know, he can talk about how he was presented with some very disturbing statistics here on what's going on, and it at least needs an investigation, and it gave him pause. Anything, because I can't believe that he is his eyes have avoided all of the evidence that shows that these vaccines have been a catastrophic net negative on mankind. And it's one thing to fall silent on it and become skeptical. It's another thing to say, this is all, yeah, continuing to hold it over his head like it's a WWF championship belt is very disconcerting.
I
It's
agree.
it's always going to be. I mean, little things like that would go a very, very long way.
No, I completely agree. The constant championing of the medical miracle that were the COVID-19 vaccines is got to stop. It's really got to stop. All right, let's take care of our final two sponsors, and we'll come back on the other side of that and land the plane here. Our next sponsor is our friends at Beamish Metalworks. In the heart of Malmo, Minnesota, a family-led team at Beamish Metalworks is crafting not just metal art, but personalized, timeless masterpieces. Beamish Metalworks is pioneering metal on wood creations. Imagine a piece of art that's not confined by generic designs, but is a narrative of your persona, your memories, your dreams. From the elegance of an office centerpiece to the wild spirit of hunting and fishing scenes, your imagination is the only limit. Dive into the realm of endless possibilities with Beamish customization, where your space becomes a reflection of you with a distinct vibe that only Beamish Metalworks can offer. Beamish Metalworks proudly supports local heroes and events, from veteran fundraisers to law enforcement gatherings, embedding ourselves as a pillar of support and gratitude. And don't miss out on owning your very own Badlands Media sign and new Badlands Media license plate from Beamish Metalworks. Visit Beamish Metalworks today at badlandsmedia.tv/metal art and use promo code Badlands for free shipping. That's badlandsmedia.tv/metal art, promo code Badlands. And before I go to our next sponsor, again, just want to show you guys my Badlands Media metal sign from Beamish. It's really nice, really, really beautifully made, and it's going to look great on my wall. Like I said
Bet it's
last time,
nice.
yeah, I'm going to be listing this house on the market and be moving into a new space hopefully soon. And when I do, I'm gonna have all this kind of stuff. And there's a lot of really cool stuff people have sent me. Heck,
I don't know how you would be able to do it, but because so much of those backlighting strips are a little bit more bulky, but that'd be really cool if you were to find a way to get that backlit a little bit against the wall.
that would be really cool. That would
Mm.
look really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, go check it out again. Badlandsmedia.tv/metal art if you want to check that out. And the promo code is Badlands. And our final sponsor today is Aero Tags. So let me get this going. Tired of the endless cycle of buying and tossing those paper tree air fresheners? Enter AeroTags, where their dream was to craft a solution to this very problem. AeroTags are the first ever laser engraved, rescentable car air fresheners made right here in the USA. Born in the makerspace of Cleveland Public Library, AeroTags is not just a business, it's a revolution, a testament to the American dream. They're not just about freshening your space, but about doing it better with a commitment to longevity, aesthetics, and sustainability. AirTags are designed to last longer, look great, and reduce waste, replacing those fleeting scents with something you can count on. Don't forget to grab your Badlands Media AirTags now available. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/AirTags. That's AROTAGS, and use promo code Badlands for 10% off your order. Again, that's badlandsmedia.tv/AeroTags, AROTAGS, promo code Badlands. So big thank you to the sponsors. And again, big thank you to all of you guys tuning in today. Thank you so much. for hanging out with us on this Thursday afternoon. Again, if you're watching on Badlands Media Rumble, please hit that thumbs up button for us. If you're watching on pilled.net, make sure you hit the red pill button and repost the show. Share the links out there anywhere that you can. Frank, I always appreciate the time, my friend. It's been a fun hour as always. What do you got going on tonight at 7 o'clock?
Tonight I have my friend and nutritionist Jay Gulinello coming in studio. He's been, I think, I don't know, I think he was on with us last month, or might have been a month and a half ago. But tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about the WHO pandemic treaty,
Okay.
and that'll lead us into a discussion about direct care medicine instead of network medicine and giant hospital chains and all that stuff. And then we're also, as a like a crown jewel of tonight's show, aside from fielding calls and super chats, which usually vary all over the place across health and fitness and nutrition, there is going to be the discussion about sound resonant healing. So if you want to talk about things like Rife machines and what sound frequency does for healing and treating any kind of a number of ailments or whatever, please join us at 7 o'clock tonight. It all begins on quitefrankly.tv. Quitefrankly.tv. You can watch anywhere, including it starts off on Rumble and everywhere else too. But by all means, all information on the show is at quitefrankly.tv. Adel, I appreciate you as always, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Frank. And yeah, have a great show tonight.
Thanks, bro.
All right. We'll see you. There he goes, Frankie Val of the Quite Frankly Show, hanging out with us today on Taking It Back. Greatly appreciated. Go check out quitefrankly.tv. Again, he goes live 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. If you have not checked out a full installment of the Quite Frankly Show, I don't know what in the world you are waiting for. He is absolutely phenomenal. The show is awesome. Frank's the best. Great guest, great production. And Frank himself, he's just a brilliant guy. Love talking to him and spending these Thursday afternoons with him. So big thank you to Frankie Val. Shout out to our brother Zach Payne as well. He is under the weather. So prayers out to Zach for a quick recovery. Hopefully we'll get Zach back in the swing of things here as soon as next week. But I believe his show is canceled today at 5 o'clock too because of the way he's feeling. So, Zach, if you're out there listening, we love you, brother. I hope everything heals up quick. And again, big thank you to Frankie Val. Again, that's quitefrankly.tv. My name is Adel Nero. My channel is 412 Productions. My main platform is pill.net. So I hope you guys will follow me over there. But if you're on Rumble, you can find 412 Productions on Rumble as well. I'm on Twitter at 412anon87, on True Social at 412, and on DLive also 412 Productions over there. We're going to do an after party today. We're going to do a little bit of an after party. So I'm not done. I'm going to hang out exclusively on my pilled.net channel. So if you want to keep hanging out with me for a little while longer, I'm going to go for, I don't know, about 45 minutes to an hour longer over on pilled.net. 412 Productions is the channel. I'm going to put the link in all the live chats. So first we'll drop it over on Badlands. There you go. It's in the Badlands Media live chat on Rumble. Just put it in the 412 Productions Rumble chat as well. And I'm going to throw it over on DLive too. So I've got a little bit of news stuff that I'll cover still. We'll probably take maybe some of your calls, play some music or something. I don't know. I don't have anything specifically planned out, but I have a little extra bandwidth today, and I figure, what the hell? Let's do a little after party. So I'm gonna play a quick video, and then I'll come back on the other side and shut down all the other platforms, say goodbye, and then we'll continue on. We'll continue on over at pilled.net. So we'll be right back.
Pilled.net is proud to host 412 Productions, exclusively on the true home of free speech. To continue watching the show, we are here to help you over to Pilled. If you're new to the platform, just click on the welcome link provided. It will then automatically walk you through signing up for your free account. If you already have a Pilled.net account, follow the link provided directing you straight to 412 Productions channel. We are excited to have you join the Pilled family And if you have any questions at all, please email support@pilled.net. Enjoy the rest of 412 Productions on pilled.net. Free speech lives here.
All right. Big thank you to everyone who is going to be jumping over or has already jumped over to pilled.net for this little bit of an after party we're doing here today. If you're not going to be joining us, no worries at all. I will be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time to wrap up the week with my OG crew, Tennessee Homesteader and Drunk Pinata, over on 412 Productions. So those of you guys that are going to be hanging out, sit tight. We'll be with you shortly. Those of you who are logging off are going to do other things with their time here. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Thursday. Thank you guys so much for watching the show, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. So have a great day, and I hope to see you all on pill.net for hour number 2.